Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Liz Bywater wants you to slow down to speed up. Let's hear what she has to say. Liz, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Now, when you talk about slowing down, do you get a lot of resistance to that topic from people? Because, you know, we just always, I guess, think we're moving pretty fast or associate speed with, importance. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's a good question. You know, certainly speed is important. We are living in an age where there's an expectation that we get rapid results, that we move quickly, that we make fast decisions, and all of that stuff actually is quite important. But slowing down isn't about being lethargic or lazy or decadent. It's really about being strategic and taking the time to be thoughtful and deliberate about the decisions that get made, the priorities that get placed, the work that gets done, and how it gets done. And the most effective leaders and teams and organizations start to recognize that it's in taking the moments to be thoughtful and to talk to one another and to strategize and to plan. All of those things put together actually help you go a lot faster and prevent mistakes that might otherwise get in the way.
Is it still cool, though? I guess there's some aspect in our personality that if we always look busy, we think we're cool and important. Does that take away from that ambiance?
I haven't had that experience. I understand what you're saying, and there is sometimes some cachet around, oh, I'm so busy, I'm too busy. But I think we're learning more and more that busy does not equal effective or successful. It's really about spending time, effort, energy, doing the right things, doing the things that lead to results, rather than simply spinning wheels and ticking things off the to-do list.
I'm just thinking, do you get, when you give talks and work with companies, do you get people who say, I don't have time to slow down?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You do?
Nobody thinks they have any time to slow down, for sure. And it takes just a little bit of really talking it through, that slowing it down and taking what I call strategic pauses from the busyness of everyday activity, that those things are actually leading to more success and leading to greater effectiveness. It takes a little time to really get that message across, but what I found is as my clients begin to implement that sort of slow down to speed up mindset and way of doing work, they're really finding that they are less overwhelmed, that they're focused more effectively on their priorities, that there's greater alignment among the team about what needs to get done when, at different times by whom. So it just takes a little bit of confidence, a little faith, and a little experimentation to see that it really does work.
Now, leaders feel they have to be decisive. I mean, and that's, I think we would all agree on that we don't want someone taking too long on things. Does that take away from this principle? Because they actually, I guess, have to appear that they always have an answer for everything, and that gives them importance and kind of a leadership stature. What about that? Where does that fit in?
Well, I think the best leaders are decisive, but they're not impulsive. So if they need more time or more information to make an important decision or to give a response, they actually, have the confidence to say, let me take a moment to think about that, or let me ask some of my people what information they've got, and we will circle back to you by the end of the day. But I think when leaders try to answer things quickly without having all of the proper information, without taking the time to really think it through, the risk they take is saying something that's either inaccurate or is sending their organization spinning in the wrong direction, and then they have to circle back and fix things, and that takes a whole lot more time than just kind of taking the time to get it right in the first place.
Now, you talk about in your book, you say we have to shift the balance to be proactive, not reactive. And I think that's very important and key words that we should all kind of put on our bulletin board right in front of us, or on the telephone, or at least on our desk. But can you explain what that means and how that really applies, and maybe some story you've come across where that was done and how it worked out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with a lot of clients in large organizations, really a variety of sizes, but many of my clients are Fortune 10, Fortune 15, so huge organizations. And often there is a sense that there is a fire to be put out around every corner. And so that reactive approach is around, customer is upset. We might be losing a big contract. The industry is changing around us. There's a new regulation, and there's this frantic effort to keep up with the fires. But in fact, being proactive, that really ties in with the slowing down philosophy. So being proactive means you are scanning the environment for what's coming next. What are the economic changes? What are the industry trends? What are your competitors doing? What do your customers need? What's the latest innovation? And by really looking forward and being proactive, what you can do is you can be far more innovative. You can take control of the marketplace. You can get more customers. And you actually end up with far happier people working within the environment because there's not this continuous sense of, oh my God, the place is burning down. We better fix it fast. Instead, it's excitement about what can we create? What's something new that we can do?
And it seems, if I'm correct, that this gives us a feeling of control, which in effect, I guess even is more that it puts us in control, because instead of always having to react and do something kind of on the rebound, we're taking the lead and others have to react to us. And we know the direction we're going rather than us bouncing to the left, to the right, go back 3 steps, go back and check your notes on that, etc. Now other people have to react to us. Is that kind of the philosophy behind this?
I think there is something to that. So it is both a mindset of feeling confident and in control, and it really is about leading the way. And, people respond very well to leaders who are confident and thoughtful and planning for the future and creating something new. And so, yes, people may respond very, very well to that. Whereas if you are constantly, as you say, trying to just play catch up and not get kind of caught in a whirlwind, those kinds of leaders don't have the confidence either of their employees, their bosses, or of their customers. So there really is advantage to getting out ahead of things rather than just trying to play catch up.
Liz, we want to remind our audience that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Today we're talking to Liz Bywater. That's spelled Bywater. Her book is Slow Down to Speed Up. And Liz, would you tell us where we can get the book and if there's a website where we can find more information?
Absolutely. Well, my website is simply my name, lizbywater.com. And when you go to that website, you will find a link to get the book. You will find a free copy of the first chapter of the book, as well as a number of articles and podcasts and a bunch of things that you can look at and read and learn from. You could also go straight to Amazon if you'd like to get the book from there, easily accessible. The full title is Slow Down to Speed Up, Lead, Succeed, and Thrive in a 24/7 world.
And Liz, I have to say, in just a personal endorsement, I've found over the years that I know I can't do things on the speedy pace of other people. And I take it rather proudly, and I will tell them, no, I can't do 2 and 3 and 4 things at once. If you want to think you're multitasking, or if you do multitask, that's great. I can't do it. And I do feel more in control when I take my time. I slow things down, and then it usually happens that I'm only doing them once rather than having to go back, straighten it out, answer it 3, 4, 5 times. If I make something decisive and just do it right the first time, it's a lot easier, it saves a lot of time, and it's really better for everybody concerned, friends, clients, relatives, anybody who's involved in the various projects. I read in your book that we make something like 3,500 decisions a day. And we actually, I guess on the average, an executive is dealing with 500 or more emails. Now, is that correct?
In my experience, that is correct. We are, in terms of the decision making, we are constantly making decisions. Now, many of them are not in our conscious awareness. We're deciding, whether to take a deep breath, whether to use our left foot or our right foot to move forward. I mean, there's tiny little micro decisions that are being made behind the scenes all the time. Then there are decisions about, do I call my colleague? Do I walk down the hall to say hello? Do I come bring a cup of coffee to my boss? How early do I get home for dinner? I mean, there's so many decisions that we're making. And, that's all fine. We're well equipped to do that. But what ends up happening is as the day progresses, we get a sort of fatigue around making decisions. And so if we're not taking some pauses in the action where we are thinking and calming ourselves and maybe stepping out of the office for a few minutes or simply clearing our minds, you really do get too tired to make your very best and most effective decisions. When you couple that with the fact that executives are getting bombarded with input, yes, hundreds of emails a day, depending on, the type of organization and the role that they play, it could be even more than that. So just to get through email alone is literally a multi-hour a day activity that pulls people away from doing the work that they're really getting paid for, which is helping to make the company money by making good strategic decisions, building relationships, getting out in front of customers and that kind of thing.
And Liz, I think it's on page 7 of your book. You actually say for every email, we actually have to make 6 decisions. Now, that's kind of surprising. I wouldn't think of that myself, and I certainly, maybe I'd say 2 decisions. But could you tell us what those 6 decisions are?
I can. And I'll tell you what as well, Bill, I suspect sometimes there are even more decisions than these, but the ones that come to mind are, first of all, do you reply by email? You may get an email from somebody and you have to make a decision, and it should be a deliberate one. Do I simply hit reply and respond that way? Do I reply just to that one person, or do I hit reply all so everybody gets to see what I've had to say? Or instead, do I walk down the hall and have a discussion? Do I pick up the phone and deal with it that way? So that's really the first one, is how do I respond? The second one is, when do I respond? Is this something that needs an immediate answer, or is it something where maybe I need to gather a little bit of information, circle back to the person? Is it something that I want a little time to pass because maybe the person who wrote's a little hot under the collar and we need things to calm down? So is it really a now response or a later response? I mentioned before, the copying others, how many people should be copied? Should people be copied at all? You also want to think about how much do you put in the email? Some people make these very long, complex emails with tons of background data, which may or may not even get read because we are all very, very busy. And some people put their emails so concisely that there's just not enough information, and it leaves more questions than it does answers. So really the question is, how much do you put into that email? Do you want to soften it a little bit with a warm greeting? Dear John, hope your holiday was terrific. Really looking forward to seeing you again. Now, some people might find that fluffy or indulgent, but I'll tell you what, the personal connection sometimes is really valuable in an email. Sometimes you just want to get straight to it. And then I guess the 6th thing that I would recommend is, are you really giving a full comprehensive view with background slides, attach a few PDFs and PowerPoints and so on, or are you simply providing a couple of bullets that are the highlight of the situation? So those are some of the things that we're deciding every time we receive an email and have to provide some sort of response.
And I think those are great, even if it just makes people think about it, because, as you said, sometimes you want to say, hi, how are you, how was the weekend, or how's your dog, just to set the tone for what's coming ahead. Other times, it's kind of 2 bullet points and on to the next one. That's all you have to do. Yes to the first question, no to the second. Have a good day, bye. And just get it done. So I think a little thought by people to read your 6 tips here and go over them, it might actually make responding to emails a lot easier, and maybe they're one of the people who use 3 paragraphs when maybe 3 words or 3 sentences could do the same job for all of us. Do we fail? One of the reasons we have so little time, do we fail to delegate properly?
Oh, gosh, I see that all the time. I see it with entrepreneurs, solo practitioners, chief executive officers, you name it. Every type of company, every type of industry, every size and shape. Yes, all of us all the time are failing to adequately delegate. And I think that one of the problems is that people who are good at their work and have been promoted to positions of authority, or people who are smart and ambitious and have started their own companies, et cetera, want the work done well and competently and often in their own style. And so it might be a natural inclination to say, well, I'll just handle that. I can do that. Sometimes people, and I have clients like this, where they've come into a new role and they don't know yet whether they have strong enough people on their team to do the work well and properly. And so they're reluctant to trust others with taking things on. And there are a variety of other reasons, but the fact is, yes, we all should be delegating a whole lot more than we do.
Liz, at this point in the show, I'd like to remind our listeners that you're listening to The Secrets of Success. I'm your host, Bill Horan, and our guest today is Liz Bywater, author of Slow Down to Speed Up. You're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Women Heart is in a race to save lives. Heart disease is the #1 killer of women. It's 80% preventable if you know the facts. Millions of women are living with or at risk of different types of heart disease, like AFib, which is a type of irregular heartbeat. It affects both women and men, but women with AFib have a higher risk of stroke and death than men. Get educated. See your doctor. Know the facts. Diet and exercise are key to staying healthy. Know the risks. Women Heart does something really unique, solely focusing on women and providing peer-to-peer support. To win this race, we all have to do it together. Our hearts beat as one. To learn more, visit womenheart.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, and today our guest is Liz Bywater, author of Slow Down to Speed Up. Liz, you talk about taking a strategic pause occasionally. What is a strategic pause, and how does it help us?
A strategic pause is a deliberate break that you have chosen to take in what is often very frenetic pace of getting things done day to day. So a strategic pause can be anything from taking 5 quiet, reflective minutes before an important presentation to taking a full day with your management team away from the office where you're strategizing for the next quarter or year. It can be a week off where you're going on vacation and you're clearing your mind of all of the decisions and stress of being in the office day to day. So a strategic pause is very helpful because it is an opportunity to step back, get different perspective, get a little bit calmer, come into the next decision or activity even more poised and ready to get things done.
And it sounds like I'm endorsing everything you say, but I actually do these things not simply because of your book. Just every once in a while, it seems that if you slow everything down, again, taken from the title of your book, it really lets you put things in the proper order and set priorities, and you get things done much more quickly and efficiently. So I'd be a good endorsement for the book because these are things I found to be helpful. You also mentioned something called pivot points. What are those and how do we use them?
Pivot points are those decisions, actions, events, and experiences in our lives, and they can be in our personal life or our professional lives or both, that have had meaning and import and have helped create the path that we've taken and sort of have made us who we are today. So I like to think in terms of what I call pivotal successes, and those are really very positive things that have happened to us. It could be things that we have made happen, such as, somebody's worked very, very hard and they've made a Division I athletic team, or they've become class valedictorian, or they've gotten hired for, a fantastic executive role. Or they can be things that simply we were sort of given by happenstance. We were born into a great, smart, supportive family. We were born into a supportive community. We had the chance to travel abroad and learn about other cultures. Those sorts of things can be very pivotal in who we become and how we go through the world. The other side is what I call pivotal regrets. And pivotal regrets, again, you may or may not have had direct input. Some of these things may simply be events or happenings that occurred to you over time. But those are the things that really didn't feel as positive. And they could be anything from the loss of a loved one to losing a job to not taking an important opportunity that was presented to you to, perhaps failing an important exam that would have gotten you into a graduate program, whatever it may be. But again, although they were negative and we don't feel great about them, they still were really important in terms of us figuring out who we are, how we go through the world, how we lead others, how we create success for ourselves. So that's really what pivot points are.
Now, Liz, you have a list of 6 questions. I think it's on page 37 or 38 of your book, the beginning of chapter 4. And I always tell our audience, every show has a takeaway, something that if you don't take anything else away, take this away and use it. So could you go through those questions and tell us why you're mentioning them and how this is going to help us?
Yes, so this chapter is called Setting Your Sights, and the sub-chapter is what do you love, what do you bring, and where are you headed? And this is really all about determining what's your vision and your path for yourself. And it can be, again, personally, it can be professionally, it can be as a team, it can be as a company. But, the questions to really step back and ask in order to set that path are several. One is, if this is a personal reflection, really, who am I today? How do I show up as a leader, a mentor, a colleague, a partner, etc.? What do I bring? What are the strengths and talents, and what are the really good things that I bring to the table? Then you really want to ask yourself, well, am I putting these strengths to use today? Am I doing the kind of work that I really love and that maximizes the strengths and talents and experiences that I have? Another question is, are you bringing value to your business, to your boss, to your colleagues, to your customers, et cetera, in ways that are most meaningful to you, that fit with your values and your passions and so forth? And beyond that is to start looking forward. So I see where I am today. I see where I've come from, but where am I heading? Am I heading towards, continuing in the current career that I've got? Do I want to stay in this company? Do I want to stay in this industry? Do I want to move on and leave a legacy in some way? Am I really heading in the best possible direction? And then the last question is one that we often don't ask ourselves, which is, today, am I really, truly thriving in my life? Or am I just kind of holding on and getting by? And that's a tough question to look at, but a very important one if you're going to be happy and successful moving forward.
Liz, once again, we want our audience to know that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is Liz Bywater. She's the author of Slow Down to Speed Up. And Liz, would you tell us where we can get the book and a website where we can find out more?
Sure. You can find the book on Amazon, I believe also Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, a number of other places. You can also simply go to my website, which is lizbywater.com, just my name, lizbywater.com. You can get the book there. You can get a free chapter. You can read all kinds of interesting things, hopefully get some value out of the podcasts and videos and so on. Lots of good stuff on the website for you.
Liz, when you ask, am I operating in a way that aligns with my values, can you give us an example? Because I'm sure people are hearing that and saying, well, really, what does that mean? How do we align with our values at work? Can you point something out or give us an example of someone you work with?
Well, yes. So am I working in a way that aligns with my values means, first of all, it's a couple of things. One, am I doing the type of work that I feel good about every day? So, for instance, if you are a person who is passionate about the environment, and let's say environmental causes are really important to you, and yet you're in a job where the work you're doing perhaps has a negative environmental impact, chances are that misalignment between what's important to you and the kind of work you're doing is going to make it really difficult to feel happy, satisfied, and successful in the work you're doing. So that's a very obvious example. It's very clear-cut. Sometimes it's more subtle. Sometimes people are working in an environment where their job as a leader is to push their people to work very long hours, do more work than really is reasonable to do, and, sacrifice family time in the process. Well, if that doesn't line up with what their values are about how they want to help people go through the world and what kind of boss they want to be, again, it's going to be difficult to do that work. They can probably pull it off, but they probably won't feel especially happy about it, and eventually will maybe grow weary of it and end up needing to do something different.
I know you ask people what's holding you back, and I'm interested in the kind of answers that you get. This almost sounds like something we would hear on Dr. Phil. So we'll make you Dr. Liz right now and ask you, what kind of answers do you get when you're asking people what's holding them back from aligning their values and doing what they love?
Well, it's interesting. The first thing that I discover is it's very hard for people to know what's holding them back. They're often not thinking about it. They've often not been asked the question. But when I work with individual executives and teams and we really start looking at this and acknowledge that for all of us, there's something that's probably holding us back from being as successful, as content, as rewarded as we'd like to be. Some of the things are, for instance, I grew up in a very competitive family, and I drive myself to be perfect in everything I do. I drive my people to be perfect in everything they do, and that actually really holds us back because we get burnt out. We feel like we can never be successful, and we can never complete a task because we have such a high bar for perfectionism. Sometimes it's things like, I could never be as good as my very successful, brother who was a superstar of some sort. And so I'm always comparing myself to others, and I don't have the confidence that I could use to get in front of my CEO or my board or my top customers and really present myself as, the high-level executive that I am, the high-level successful business person that I am. So there are things like that. Sometimes things that hold us back are, I feel really torn because I want to get home to my family, and yet the boss is expecting me or the company's expecting me to be here until, 9, 10 o'clock each night, and that conflict is making it hard for me to be successful on either side of the coin. So, there are many, many other responses to that, but the key is really to sit and think, what are the things that are getting in your way, putting up obstacles or roadblocks to you being as effective as you possibly could be.
Is this kind of an aha moment for people? Do they all of a sudden wake up and say, oh my gosh, by asking that, I really realized I should be an accountant, or I wanted to be a teacher, or I want to go back and learn to be a nurse because I'm nurturing and I like to work with people. Do you find that they kind of light up when you present that to them?
It really can be an aha moment. People, to discover the parts of ourselves that have remained sort of quiet or hidden or squelched, for that to come up and out can be really very wonderful. It doesn't necessarily mean people make entire switches, but what they might do is, let's say they are working in a job that has, I work, for instance, with a lot of hospital administrators. So part of their job is clinical, part of their job is administrative, and what they've discovered is that what's holding them back is they really love the clinical work and they really hate all the administrative stuff. But by discovering that, then maybe what they can do is they can recraft the position they're in, or maybe even get a different position, perhaps even in a different setting, where they're doing the stuff that they most love and that they really want to do every day, and let go of trying to do things that are really kind of dragging them down.
Liz, we want to thank you so much for being with us today. We want to remind our audience the book is Slow Down to Speed Up, Lead, Succeed, and Thrive in a 24/7 World. Our guest has been Liz Bywater, Bywater. Liz, can you tell us where we can get the book one more time and the website?
Absolutely, yes. The website is my name, lizbywater.com. The book can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you just put it in the Google search, Lead, Succeed, and Thrive in a 24/7 World, you will find it there. And I hope you find great benefit and value in reading it.
Liz, thanks so much for being with us. We'd like to remind our audience that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Oran, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.